In this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, the ultimate rematch between Goku and the resurrected galactic overlord Frieza finally begins, and it all ends with Goku revealing his brand new Super Saiyan God form. Not really too much to say about this week's episode. It's pretty much exactly like the movie version. Goku versus Frieza, lots of punches, lots of kicks, lots of elbows, lots of destruction, beams flying all over the place, and it all ending with Goku transforming into his brand new form, the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, otherwise known as Super Saiyan Blue. This was probably the first episode of the series where I really wish we could get back to the old animation of Dragon Ball Z. There really was nothing special here in terms of the fighting choreography or any of the special moves. If you've seen any episode of Dragon Ball Z, you've seen this episode right here. That being said, this was basically a real build-up episode to Goku and Frieza having their real fight, because they haven't even revealed their true powers quite yet. Goku at the end is going to go Super Saiyan Blue, and if you look at the preview for the next one, Frieza is finally going to transform into Golden Frieza. But I did like some elements in this episode. First, they just made Frieza all the more evil in this episode, because as they're fighting, Frieza will occasionally fire a blast of energy at one of Goku's friends, whether it be Krillin or whether it be Bulma, and every single time Goku or Vegeta have to get in the way and they have to stop these attacks, which allow Frieza to get one little cheap shot in. He actually does damage Goku a good amount in this episode, but for the most part it's basically just a stalemate of power, just them sort of testing themselves out. It's amazing that Goku is the one who actually has to go through this transformation first before Frieza, although Frieza, of course, just wants to impress Goku with his brand new gold form, although if anybody's ever seen the movie version, we all know how that's going to go down. That being said, that's pretty much the bulk of this episode. There was a lot of dialogue this week, and there was even this pretty fantastic scene where Vegeta got really pissed off, started fighting against Goku, and even started to kiss Frieza's ass just a little bit, which also started to get under his skin, especially when he kept continuously and slowly clapping right in front of him. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the episode. Just Goku and Frieza flying around, punching and kicking each other, destroying everything around them. I did like their initial standoff, where just their power destroys everything around them. It just shows how destructive that they're actually going to be. The entire universe is feeling the effect of their power at the moment, and like I said, this is really just the beginning of their fight. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? This is definitely a case of where the movie is better. There was way more speed and impact and better fighting choreography in the movie that this really does feel like a downgraded version of the movie version. That being said, I did like this episode. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but on the upside, they are getting right through this arc. They've already made the announcement that the Champa arc, the first real new arc of Dragon Ball Super, is going to be starting at the very end of January. So that means we're basically just going to have to sit through this arc for about another month. So that's not too bad. I'm really interested to see what they're going to add to this fight, especially in the next episode, and I wonder how quick we're going to have to wait to see if Frieza's going to get into his golden form, if they're going to do it like they did this episode where he waits until the very end, or maybe he's initially just going to go ahead and transform and we can finally get into the real fight of the episode, because that's what I want to see, and I want to see some more new stuff. Like, I did like the fact that they added Frieza trying to kill Goku's friends and getting some cheap shots in. It really just made him seem all the more evil, and again painted Frieza in an evil light, letting you know that you really shouldn't trust this guy and you should keep your eye on him at all times. And I imagine after this happening a couple of times, Goku is not going to let that happen again. And his transformation at the end did look very cool, very similar to the movie version, where basically he gets covered in this blue light, which suddenly starts to crackle and fall away from his body, and suddenly you see him with this brand new blue glowing aura. Again, like most people, I think the transformation is cool, but it's also not too flashy. It's basically just a difference in color change, but still it's a great demonstration of his power, and it makes it seem all the more distinctive. So, still decent episode, but again, mostly just a retread of the movie version. Nothing too crazy here, but it still had some pretty exciting moments and some hard-hitting attacks, just not enough of them. I really want a lot more of that, and I really do feel that they could do a lot better with the animation and the artwork, because I remember last night I came in late, and on Toonami was like this marathon of Goku and Frieza fighting each other, and it looks so cool in the original version. Maybe it's just the art style, maybe it's just because it's old school, I'm not really sure what it is, but it just seems to have a lot more impact and love and tender care behind it. That's just the way I look at it. It almost seems like this was sort of an afterthought, like, hey, we gotta get through this Frieza arc as quickly as possible. Don't put too much effort into it. We'll worry about that when we get to the Champa arc. I want them to care about the Frieza arc. I want them to do it justice. I want them to try and make it better than the movie version. And as it stands, they're not really doing that. There are some elements to this arc that were interesting, like Ginyu coming back and everything. But as it stands, this is basically just a street retelling of the movie from this point, so we're just gonna have to wait and see how they're going to change it and just try to be optimistic. So this was a fun episode, but it was also just an okay episode of Dragon Ball Super. I love that Goku and Frieza are getting ready to have a rematch, but I think they need to do just a little bit more with it. It really hurts me to say that because I'm such a big Dragon Ball fan, but still, I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna wait for the next episode and see how they're going to wrap up this arc. So this week's episode was not perfect in my opinion. It was basically kind of an average episode of Dragon Ball Super, and that's a shame because there were some pretty interesting episodes previously. But again, this is basically just a build-up to Goku and Frieza powering up and really showing off what they're truly capable of. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 3 out of 5. Just a fun, average episode of Dragon Ball Super. I don't think you should skip the episode. You should definitely see it, if only to see Goku go through his big Super Saiyan Blue transformation. It's really cool to see if you've never seen the movie version, and if you never saw the movie version, period, you gotta watch this episode. It's mandatory viewing. So there it is, 3 out of 5 from me, but I want to hear from you guys. Did you watch this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you think of their initial battle? Do you like Goku's brand new Super Saiyan transformation? Do you think the color change is even necessary? What do you want to see from the rest of Dragon Ball Super? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!